everyone, and I'd like to welcome you to yet another episode of Music with the Twist. And thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing our podcast. Now, today we will be interviewing, or I will be interviewing rather, Matt Matlack. And Matt, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. Well, thanks so much for having me on the podcast today, and it's exciting to be here talking to you, and it's always encouraging and I guess fulfilling that someone thinks you're interesting enough to interview you. So thank you so much for that, and I look forward to diving in. So I grew up in a small town in Missouri, and really one of the things that kind of drove me as a teenager was music. Had an older brother that introduced me to a lot of really cool bands back in the 80s, everything from U2 to Flock of Seagulls to Billy Squier, so he was kind of all over the place, which also kind of broadened my horizons with music. And I grew up just kind of looking up to him and loved that he shared his music with me. And I ended up starting a band in high school. I was in a band before that. Actually started in 8th grade, if you can believe that. But started a band in high school with my best friends. And we were in that band for 33 years. Wow. So it transitioned through high school into college. And then as we moved on to our lives after school and things like that. And then it kind of took us all over the U.S. and we even got to go to Europe one time. So that was really exciting as well, and put out a few albums. And now I'm living on the east coast of Florida in what's called the Space Coast. So we're near Cape Canaveral, and I can look out my office window here and see the rockets fly every now and again.
Aw, that's pretty cool. Wow, that's so amazing. It shows that you really have consistency to start a band in high school and take it out to like 33 years. Wow. So can you tell us a little bit more about what type of music that you all do, and how did you get into touring?
I had this revelation at one point, which was like, looking back is so silly, where I was trying to figure out, well, how do we get live shows? Like, how do we get to play at these cool live music venues? And I was like, oh, I actually have to like call them and talk to them and ask them to play. So once that clicked, that changed everything. And which meant that I was on the phone constantly talking with people. So when we first started the band, email was not a thing, so you had to pick up the phone and call people. You had to do your research. And this was even back before anyone had a web address, or websites weren't around, so that just wasn't a thing back then. And so I became kind of the administrator of the band. And I guess in music terms, I became the band's manager. From a creative standpoint, definitely we were all in it together. Troy Rickardson was the lead singer and lead guitarist, and by all means the primary songwriter in the band. If I was putting percentages on it, it's probably 99% of the songwriting was him. And Amy and I, the other two band members, just got to chime in every now and again. And I really enjoyed the production side of things, so helping kind of the links of verses and choruses, and when the certain choruses come up, and different sounds that for the drums or what the vocals may be. Like, I had a great time with that. But in the management side, like all the marketing and booking, the publicity, all of that rested on my shoulders, and I wanted to do that. I was excited about that. And even though I started college as a mechanical engineer, I ended college as a business major, so which made a whole lot more sense for what I was trying to do. And then I got lucky, and I started my own business doing the booking for the band, because I knew calling a music venue as a band member was not as impressive as calling a music venue as a band manager or a booking agent from a company. So I just started my own company, and I would call around and book the band. And my middle name is Powers. It's my mom's maiden name, but I went by Powers as through the business. And so I was even like a different persona as I was out there doing business for the band. And then I got lucky and got a job at a radio promotion company. And so as a radio promoter, I was calling over 700 radio stations around North America, getting airplay for bands. And of course, I got to do that for my own band as we released new music. And that's kind of how I started getting us live shows, and then ultimately started getting us played on radio stations.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. So I understand now, why you invested so much of 33 years into that band. I can really hear, the passion, the skills that you would have learned along the way, and actually the connections that you made, transitioning from just playing your drums and then going into management and then learning a little bit more about airplays and actually, seeing how you all can get more gigs and, making and earning from music. So that's pretty cool. So based on your journey, what can you say that you have learned from music management into what do you do now? Like, how has that background into business administration, lingered, or what you did learn in the music background that helps you now with what you do?
That's a great question. And it's almost more of I think the lessons I learned are just helpful in life, really. But it's persistence and patience. It is integrity. As I say, I was using a different name when I was calling people. It's still it's still me. It's my name. And of course, if the conversation continued and developed, it was not a thing where I was hiding that from them. It was just more of a way in the door to get the conversation started. But yeah, it's the thing where the success is built off of hundreds or thousands of losses. So you're going to lose when you put yourself out there and you try things. Most of the time, it's not going to work. You have to go out there and do things. You have to be okay with no. Right now, I'm trying to promote a project for Pot Cake Rescue, and I'm out there trying to get publicity for it. And a lot of people are not responding to my emails and my calls and my DMs, but it may take 100 of those to get one of them back that says, yeah, we love what you're doing. We would love to have you on. So come on here, or send us, like, we'd love to, promote you through our magazine or our website or whatever it may be. So it's just that persistence. Obviously it's doesn't feel good to be declined or for the no's to happen. It's always a little bit of, oh man. And maybe a little bit of self-doubt comes up. Like, okay, do they see through me? Cause I think anyone that's honest with themselves always would admit that they have a little bit of imposter syndrome. Is my band really that good? Are our songs worthy of radio airplay? When we perform live, are we worth $100 or $1,000 or a $10,000 gig? People are paying you for that service, and so even now, are people seeing what I'm trying to do, helping rescue island dogs? Do they see value in that? And I think at the end of the day, I see value in it. I'm passionate about it. And I feel drawn to it. And so that's why I'm taking all these skills I've learned over the years, whether it be through the hard knocks of the music industry, or maybe what I learned in college, or in going back to my parents. I had great parents that both taught me great lessons throughout my life. Taking all of that and learning from that and using that in what I'm doing now, and continuing to remain curious and open. I want to learn from you. I want to learn from people that are in my circle, and so I think that's so important. And maybe one of the biggest lessons is always stay humble and curious, to where you can go into almost any conversation and learn from that, while also trying to figure out how can you contribute and give back to also the people that are in your circle of influence.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. When you spoke about giving back and how, that ties into what you used to do and what you do now. And I can pretty much understand, how you feel about pet rescue because I grew up, with my father raising dogs, and he had like this huge kennel outside, and we would be raising like about 11 to 15 puppies, and we would have to take care of them from they were like itty bitty to when it was time to actually give them to their owners. So it was always an amazing experience for me, and it has helped me in many areas of my life with knowing how to process things and you know understand the nature of dogs in itself. And I know you moving from the stage into the pet world, like, there's such a beautiful pivot. How did it all come about?
Well, growing up in Missouri, we didn't have an ocean and we didn't have mountains. There's a lot of really cool stuff there. Like some of the parks and the trails in Missouri are just gorgeous. The Ozark Mountains, they're hills, but it's gorgeous. The creeks and streams and rivers that we have are fantastic there. But I was always drawn to the ocean. And my wife and I were both that way. She grew up on a farm in the Ozarks, or a ranch, basically. But we loved the ocean. And anytime we would go on vacation, we would try to hit somewhere where there was a beach or something like that. And one of the things we noticed when we would go to other countries is we would see stray dogs. And it always had an impact on us. She grew up, like I said, on a ranch with animals, all kinds of dogs and cats and chickens and horses and cows and all that stuff, goats. And so she was always drawn to animals and just loved animals. Big passion of hers. I grew up with like a family dog and things like that. And when I got into right after college, I got my first dog. And so I've always been an animal lover. And when we were on vacation and we would see this, it had an impact on us. And really, we just decided, okay, is there something we can do? So we started looking into it and found some SPCAs and donated to some SPCAs. And then we found ourselves on Providenciales in the Turks and Caicos Islands in 2015, I believe. I'm horrible with dates. 10 years ago. Wow. And we started seeing packs of dogs. And so we wanted to do something about it, and we found the local SPCA and talked to them. And of course, they were fully aware of everything going on. And we said, well, what can we do to help? We want to donate some money to you guys, but we want to do more. Is there something we can do while we're here? Like, can we feed them or whatever? And of course they said, yeah, be careful. And so we went to the store, bought a big old 40-pound bag of dog food and got some jugs of water and got those little aluminum baking pans. And went around and found the packs of dogs and just left some food and water for them. And we found this poor little dog on the side of the road. It was mid-afternoon, so still blazing hot sun. He was laying on the side of the gravel road, baking there. And he looked, was he alive or not? We really couldn't tell. So he just really caught our attention. And we took pictures. Took pictures of where we were because we were in the middle of nowhere. We didn't know where we were on the island. Didn't know our way around, and got a hold of SPCA, sent them some photos, and emailed them to them. And we got an email back the next day of them emailing a person named John saying, "Hey, John, is this your dog?" And boy, the fury in me came up because I thought, "Oh my gosh, is this? Does somebody own this dog? And this is how they're treating this dog?" And this dog was in bad shape, but it wasn't the person that owned the dog. It was a person that had recently discovered the dog and was feeding the dog too, and trying to get the dog help and trying to raise money to get the dog put into a shelter facility, like a boarding facility where it could be brought back to health and then adopted out. So John was actually the hero. So we became good friends with John and his wife, Sally, and which happened to be my parents' names, which is super weird. Yeah. But long story, a little bit shorter. the dog's name was Sunny, and Sunny is now our first pot cake that we rescued. So King Sunny he's our OG. He's got a bad eye, so we call him the pirate pot cake. One of our we'll get into talking about the pot cake rescue NFTs here in a second, but he has one of them modeled after him. So he's our first pot cake, which then led to us discovering pot cakes and understanding what pot cakes are. We have fallen in love with the Royal Bahamian pot cake. We ended up then going to the Bahamas, and I'm a tech guy. I'm a video and photography guy. So we ended up making a short film about the pot cakes in the Bahamas. And that kind of is what the thing that sparked Pot Cake Rescue, because I named the short film Pot Cake Rescue. We then, because of the film, I got potcakerescue.com. And then once we decided to take this kind of to the next level and create an organization to help the dogs, I already had the website. So if you go to potcakerescue.com now, you see information just about our organization that is helping dogs. And if you go there and find the origin story, you can also see the short film that we made, which was in conjunction with Samsung. At the time, I can't believe it's been 10 years. It was actually 2016, I think, when we filmed it. But they had the brand new little spherical 360 camera that they had just released. And so they were talking to different filmmakers, getting them to go out and make little short films with this camera to help promote it. And that's what we did. And so I chose to make it about the pot cakes. And so it's pretty cool. Like if you have the headset on, you can look around like you're actually there at the shelter and there at the dump and there on the beach with us, with the dogs. Or if you're on a computer or on a phone, you can use your mouse or your thumb and or finger, just move the video around. And so it's 360 spherical video. You can see your whole environment. So that was a lot of fun. Got to meet the person that started Abaco Shelter. His name is Pops Weatherford. And we got to interview him. And it was just a really good time. And again, sparked this whole thing with us starting to rescue pot cakes in the Bahamas, the TCI, across the West Indies and the Caribbean and beyond.
Wow. So I understand now, the relationship between how you moved away from Missouri and you just, fell in love with the tropics and the whole idea of pot cakes and rescuing. I can hear, your passion. And I remembered at the beginning, you said everything for you is consistency. And, it's amazing to see how you transitioned and found something that you could be, so passionate about. Now, I know you started to tell us a little bit about Pot Cake Rescue and how it began, but can you tell us about how it has evolved now for you? What's new? What are you all currently working on? And how can we get engaged in this Pot Cake Rescue as well with you?
Well, I appreciate that question because obviously you can tell I'm super passionate about it. And this is a critical time for us as well in regards to timing. And once we realized we wanted the film to develop into something more, we just thought, well, what is that? What's more? And so we knew we wanted to do a few things with Pot Cake Rescue. And that was one of the biggest and most important things was we wanted to help the organizations that, have boots on the ground. I like to say sandals in the sand that are there helping the dogs. And so Abaco Shelter is the shelter we went to film Pot Cake Rescue back in 2016. And so we made a lot of friends there at Abaco Shelter, which led to us becoming second homeowners on Green Turtle Key, which is one of the small islands there that are part of the Abacos. And so we're very connected there to the Abacos and Abaco Shelter. But like anything, Abaco Shelter can't operate in an isolated environment. They have to network with other people. And so people that aren't necessarily immediate volunteers of Abaco Shelter, but they're also there in the Abacos, are networking with Abaco Shelter to help the dogs. So you just have a couple other smaller organizations and then just individuals that want to help. That looks like just identifying dogs in need, letting the shelter know about that. That includes being foster homes. So they may just find dogs and bring them in themselves and rescue them. They may help foster dogs that Abaco Shelter has. And then it's transporting them, getting them from the Bahamas to somewhere else. There's a limited number of people there in the Abacos that can foster or adopt the dogs. And so a lot of the dogs get brought over to the United States. And so we have people that bring them over on boats, or we have private pilots. Mainly it's private pilots that are bringing the dogs over on airplanes. If they're small enough, they can come over as a carry-on on American Airlines or Delta Airlines or whatever. There's a big hiccup with that right now because in the U.S., the disease center, there's a new regulation in the U.S. that's keeping dogs from being brought over that are under 6 months old. Most pot cakes that are 6 months old or older are too big to be in a little carry-on container that goes underneath the seat. So that's become a big problem as well. And so we just thought, let's support them. So let's raise money to help them, because money is always a big thing. Like, how do they pay for food and medicine and the transport and all of that? And so we developed a line of t-shirts like I have on right now. We have a few designs of t-shirts. We have plushies. We have dog chew toys. We have dog collars. And this month we're going to be releasing our first dog supplement. Of course, those proceeds all go back to helping the dogs. So funding the efforts is a big thing. But then marketing what their needs to our community is the second kind of pillar of what we're doing. So they're bringing in new dogs. These new dogs, of course, we're letting people know, hey, new dogs are coming in. So there's a financial need to help them. But also we need foster homes. We need to get rid of a dog out of the shelter to a foster home so a new dog that needs care can come into the shelter. Or these dogs need to be adopted out. And so, hey, here's a dog that's now 6 months old. It's old enough to be brought over to the U.S. And so let's get this dog adopted out and get it over to the U.S. or maybe to a foster home in the U.S. And one of the most impactful things that we've loved to share is the before and after pictures. So when a dog comes in, we'll get pictures and or video of them, and they may have mange, and you can see ribs and the spine, or they may have other injuries. And then a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, they've blossomed into this gorgeous, beautiful dog that's kind and sweet and loving. And you'd swear they know they've been rescued, And so then, of course, that dog is ready for a foster home or ideally to be adopted out. And then I would say our third kind of pillar is when we got to the Bahamas and into the Abacos, we just discovered a place that we loved. And one of the little things that my wife and I would talk about when we were on vacations is, okay, wouldn't it be awesome to have a place in, either move here or have a place in a location like this that we could come to. And so we've decided that the Abacos is where we want to do that. So we have bought a small piece of land on Green Turtle Key. And so the plan is to ultimately relocate there at some point. We're probably going to start with a small little rental cottage to get things up and rolling, but we're super excited about that. But all that to say that we just love the culture of the Bahamas. We love Junkanoo. Of course, the food is just to die for. And just the people, just the lovingness and the warmness and the acceptance that happens there, and hey, listen, I'm not blind to any city, town, state, country, province, whatever. Everybody has their problems, So of course the Bahamas has problems. And, if I were completely truthful, the biggest thing I see right now from an outsider and what I'm involved in is lack of action from the Bahamian government in regards to the animals. There's laws that they just aren't enforcing. And if they would, it would make a world of difference, but they're not. And so that's why we have organizations like Abaco Shelter and like us that are helping kind of fill in that gap. But the culture of the Bahamas is something we didn't want to bypass in our project. And so we have a Bahamian artist out of Nassau named Stevie Burrows that created the artwork. He was the lead artist for our generative art project. Generative art meaning that he created many pieces of art that are then mixed together with a program to create various different pieces of art. So several different like hats that the dog would have on, different fur colors, different eyes for the dog, different mouths for the dog, different clothing for the dogs. And so all of those different traits are mixed together to come up with a bunch of unique dogs, or artists, or art pieces of the dogs. So there are 2,420 unique pieces of art of our pot cake NFTs, or our digital collectibles. So those different traits, of course, also bring in elements of the Bahamian culture. Dominoes is a big thing in the Bahamas, and the number 242, which is the area code of every phone number in the Bahamas, is a big thing. You see it everywhere. Businesses put 242 in their names. Many people, their social media handles have 242 in it. So one of the slogans is what 242 to the world. So it's a big thing. We have a necklace that is 2 dominoes. Well, the first number on the first domino is 2, it's 0 and 2. And then the second domino has 4 and 2 on it. So 242. One of our dogs has a big, cool gold chain, and it's a 242 medallion on it, So we love that. But then just other things that we're bringing in, whether it be different just color schemes of the Bahamas. We have a sailor cap. We got a dive suit. We have just various things. The Bahamian athletes are doing amazing things out there in a lot of various sports. Track and swimming, I think, are 2 really big ones. So we have an athlete pot cake that is one of our things that has like a jersey on with the Bahamian colors. So we're just trying to do as much as we can with Bahamian culture. And one of those is, if you mint one of our pot cake pieces of art, one of our digital collectibles, you're going to get a second NFT for free. And these second NFTs are pieces of art, so paintings or photographs from other Bahamian artists that we're networking with. So we have a lot of just brilliant artists from the Bahamas that are collaborating with us. So we're super excited to be sharing their artwork out there. And I am just curious, do you know anything about any of the artists that we're sharing the artwork from?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. No, it would really be, nice to know about the artists as well.
Well, we have this really amazing artist. Her last name is Pinder, and first name is Lindira. And she has graciously allowed us to use one of her pieces of art. And I should say, and maybe this is not part of the recording, I have never heard you say your name before, I don't think. Did I pronounce your name correctly just then?
Yes, you pronounced it correctly. Yeah.
Okay. I want to be sensitive to that. With a last name like Matlack and a TV show like Matlock, a lot of people say my last name Matlock.
Oh.
And so I try to be, ultra sensitive to how names are pronounced. And I know, the most important word to anyone is their name. And so I want to make sure I was getting that correct.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Yes, you pronounced it correctly. Yes, I've heard a lot of, various variations of my name, but that was correct.
Well, we have the world-renowned artist Alton Lowe is part of our project, and he has paintings on over 100 Bahamian postage stamps.
Oh, wow.
His paintings are in the royal collection. So one was presented to Princess Diana. One
Okay.
was presented to Queen Elizabeth back in the day, so obviously, a very well-known artist. And then also the photographer, Derek Smith. Um, he has just captured the history of the Bahamas. It's so amazing. And this is a little bit of alpha that I'm sharing here for the first time. But the photograph that he is allowing us to use is of Bob Marley when he first, the only live show Bob Marley ever did in the Bahamas was in, I believe, 1977 during
Wow.
the Survivor tour. And he was there on site capturing that event. And so he's letting us use one of these photos of Bob Marley back in the day. And that's super exciting for us.
Yeah, I'm a very big, like, huge fan of Bob Marley myself, so that should be pretty interesting. Wow, Matt, you're, like a lot. I thought it was just the touring and then the pod cake rescue, and it's so good to hear, as well that you're a creative director as well, managing artist as well. So that's pretty amazing. And I like how, even though you moved away from the tour management, you still found ways to incorporate and, still tour, but you're doing something else. You're bringing about another project. It's not so much about airplays but anymore, but it's, lending a hand and helping out and giving back to a community, a culture actually. And that's so amazing, as an American citizen. I was really interested in the fact that you took on another culture, you adopted another culture, and it's so amazing to see that. I know that you're introducing the Potcake NFT as you spoke about on July 10th, which is the Bahamian Independence Day. So you all can look forward to that. I'm going to place the link as I release this. But just so you can tell my listening audience how they can get in contact with you, and also if you can give some advice to those persons who may be in transition with their career, and a little bit of encouragement with that as we close.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, um, potcakerescue.com is our website, and that's probably the best place to go to then find links to wherever you may want to get. If you are more of an Instagram person, or if you're on X or TikTok or whatever, we're pretty much everywhere. Even have a LinkedIn page. And so potcakerescue.com is the best place to go to find information about our project overall. We, of course, have a shop there where you can purchase an item and support what we are doing, which, again, of course, is helping support other organizations and people with their potcake rescue work that they're doing. But then we would just love for you to, give us a follow. Like, we're not necessarily looking to extract money from you. If you love what we're doing and want to support it, follow us and comment and like our posts and share our post. It does have a real impact on what we're doing, because it helps the algorithms know that this is important information, that people like it. So it's free to like and free to share and all that stuff. So please go do that. Find us everywhere. I'm very accessible. So if anyone has any questions about anything, please do that. We've just launched a new thing on our website, where if someone that is in the Abacos, and it's limited to the Abacos right now, but if you're in the Abacos and you see a dog in need, you can go to our website and report that dog in need. And then we will share that information to the appropriate people to see if we can get help to the dog. Okay. Now, again, these are all volunteers, and so there's no promises about anything, but knowing where the dogs are and keeping track of the dogs that are in need is very important. And so we will get the information to the right people, and the dog will get helped as possible. In regards to encouragement and making transitions, gosh, I love this kind of new, what you might call American reggae or pop reggae or surf reggae that's out there. Bands like Iration and Stick Figure and Denim and bands like that. There's a new song that came out from a band called Surfer Girl. It's about taking a leap of faith. and it says something like, it's called Skydiving is what the name of the song. And the lyrics, I'm paraphrasing, but it's something along the lines of, I'm not afraid to fall if I call it skydiving. And so for me, it's just about, you may have like this goal that seems just too big, you know, whether it's launching a campaign like I am right now, and we're trying to sell 2,420 NFTs to people. Like, that's a huge number. And I know we can do it. And so I'm jumping off the cliff, you know, but whatever it may be, starting a new business, doing weight loss, getting a degree, some type of education degree or whatever, like something that just may just seem almost unattainable, but it's a thing that you want and you just feel passionate and drawn towards it. My advice is do it. You have to do it. And at some point, you know, you may be watching like inspirational videos, and you're listening to podcasts like this, you know, you may be filling yourself full of encouragement. Keep doing that. But that can't be where it ends. You can't wait to feel prepared, because you will never be. You just got to jump and go and do it. And you're going to make mistakes. That's expected. Learn from those mistakes. How we handle our mistakes in life says everything about us, you know, and that is like, own them, you know, lean into them, see them as learning, as points of just ways you can learn and grow, and then keep going and adapt and change and redirect if you need to, but you just got to dive in. And so I hope my encouragement there for anyone is go for it.
Yes, I'm sure that your encouragement will not, fall on deaf ears, because we do have a lot of people in the music industry now that it's like a mass layoff of persons from big mega companies, that have been trying to transition, and we're trying to find new ways, even if it's still in the music business, or like moving into something else. The more momentum we can get out there, as best as possible, it is necessary. And Matt, I'd like to thank you so much for your contribution. And I do know that our listening audience, was fully intrigued like myself. Even if you are a music executive, you're a dog lover like yourself and myself as well, or even if you're, a contributor to a cause. And I heard that, from the beginning and end of my session with you. And I'd like to thank you once again, and thank you for sharing your time with me today.
Truly my pleasure, and I guess a final thought that I may have in regards to the music industry: look into music NFTs. They're still on the growing side of things, but it's a huge, the way the technology is going to help the music industry, it is going to be a part of it. So if you truly are trying to develop a music career, you cannot ignore the blockchain and digital collectibles and music NFTs. It is going to be a part of it at some point. A recent musician, her name is Violetta, just sold one NFT for 1 Bitcoin.
Wow.
That's 100,000 USD. Okay. Now, of course, that's not common, and she has a lot going on that led her to develop a community and created value in her brand that made it to where someone was willing to buy that one NFT. And there's a lot to that. It's actually called an ordinal. If it's on Bitcoin, it's called an ordinal, not an NFT, but it's still part of the same ecosystem with blockchain. Anyway, I encourage people in the music industry to look into it. It's transparent, transactional, the ability for everything just to be on the up and up. So something I dream about is You get a song played on a radio station that has to pay you royalties. Well, imagine if it didn't go through ASCAP or BMI or CSAC, and then you got an airplay on a radio station, and that, percentage of a penny automatically went to your crypto wallet with
Mm-hmm.
nobody in between. Like, to
Mm-hmm.
me, that's where it should go. That's the brilliance of it. And I think we can get there. I mean, we're years off from that level of connectivity, but it's huge right now. And it's a way to develop a community. It's like, it's a way you can kind of create, think of it as like Patreon or something like that. It's like a way to have a gated community through Discord or other ways to develop that and just give something more to people. So yesterday on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, I went into Discord and watched Violetta perform a live show for her community. She does it every single Friday at 4 p.m. through Discord, but you have to own one of her NFTs to get
Mm-hmm.
into the show, So it's kind of a cool thing like that. Anyway, look into music NFTs.
Oh wow, that's really cool. I didn't know that there were things out there like that. I'm familiar with music and NFTs, but not so much of it being at that range now. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that with us, Matt. And you have an awesome and wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me.